AstroInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief, free video, our public broadcast here. Hopefully we can do somewhere in the area of like 20 minutes or so. See if Brian can get a little bit more religious about this. Here we are, 3 minutes past the top of the hour, so basically starting on time. Good to see. And of course, today is Tuesday the 11th of June. So we're almost halfway through the month of June. Where the hell does this month go so quick? But today is Tuesdays, and of course Tuesdays mean that it's Pentecook Day. We have TRI, CTO, and of course Apple Lover on the call here today. I'm actually looking forward to his commentary on what this AI rollout from Apple is going to look like, and if it affects his life at all. But I did see that. Well, anyway, we'll talk about it in the after party. You ready to rock these people's worlds in the after party here, Sword, today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, good. So your brief sort of market summary here, free video. Take a quick boo at the dashboard. We see that we're sitting here basically in no man's land, kind of not really overbought, not really oversold. Kind of just treading water. I think that's probably the perfect theme for the past couple days. And of course, that's kind of what we had anticipated. What we've seen of late is the market actually likes to kind of sell off into the Fed meetings. And then we put in some sort of capitulation bottom as Jerry standing up on the podium. And then we like rally for the next week or two as he sort of says, no, everything's fine. Yeah, but we're doing awesome. Everything's fine. And then we get the Fed minutes, which are released, I think it's 21 days after the actual Fed meeting. And then we read in there that all the Fed governors are, fist fights in the back rooms, and everybody wants to crank interest rates higher and screw the public. And of course, the market dumps on that event. So seems to be the theme of late. And, I suppose if we take a boo at ye old crypto, I'd actually even, I don't know whether I can say we, but I think I can say I have been sort of, we've been talking about this interesting behavioral pattern. And I do like Bitcoin as an absolutely pure and raw reading on the market and on the economy and on sort of cycles. It's theoretically unbastardized because it has a limited supply. And I think it is very algorithmic. So as a result, it's really almost like, like what's really freaky is when you look at like the 4-year cycles kind of idea, and the seasons of the Bitcoin. Let's see if I can find that chart. I hope I have it just handy here. Like in years, decades gone by, it was very difficult to show the public this kind of information. But now that we have Bitcoin and it's unbastardized, like the classic stock market is stunningly manipulated. I show you every single week how they do this through the options markets. And because the options are not traded on the stock exchange, the SEC, and, you saw Gensler trying to, be a big bad wolf with regard to crypto. I put funny tweets out about that recently. And it's hypocrisy is what it is. But, they can sit there and say, we regulate the stock market. There is no market manipulation here whatsoever. Yeah, because all the market manipulation is done in the options market, which is not a part of the stock market. And most people in the public have no clue to that. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is that I do believe crypto is incredibly, especially Bitcoin, is incredibly algorithmic and because of the limited supply and the halving events. And And really, I have to say, a stand-up sort of community behind this story. It actually has an incredibly consistency to it, which I really, really appreciate. Um, so I guess just the point that I'm trying to make here is, we are into the spring, summer. So this is technically a good season. The only problem is around these halvening events, you sometimes get these little FU kind of things that have to happen here in the market before we can start the serious climb higher through the better part of the summer. So I think that's what we're kind of going through here. And then, as I had said there just a moment ago, what I find fascinating about this story here is, if we look at it from that pure perspective of, the market usually sells off into FOMC meetings and then spends some time cleaning itself up and rallies back up. And then when we get the actual Fed minutes where they announce what their real plan is, then the market sells off. Well, what a surprise. I mean, look how into this Fed meeting, right? Just wicked dump. And in 2 days into that event, it's like, oh my God, the sky is falling kind of idea. And I have a feeling that that's exactly what is happening right now. And interestingly enough, at least we're on the right side of this particular trade. The futures markets, again, talking about market manipulation, how frustrating, put in a really pretty M top, but then they go and run the stops here. They never did on the cash market, and then the damn market just collapses, jerks. But what I found interesting even about the futures markets, though, is we were talking I don't know whether I talked about this in the public broadcast yesterday or not, but in the after party, we were even conjecturing, was this one of Mr. ICT's setups? And, I'll be watching this 61.8 level like a hawk. And then last evening, the market just sort of sputtered. And then you actually could start to see it melt down here late yesterday and then in through the European session and et cetera. Have we hit a technical objective here on the futures? It kind of feels like it, eh? We banged into all these lows, all these liquidity pools, all getting washed out here. You can see how we had a bear AB equals CD off of that consolidation, and we came into that objective. So are we done on the downside? I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see just a little bit more juice out of this thing here to give us our 2-to-1 off of this breakdown level. We'll see how it goes. I will say, though, if you do see the market move at least 50% of your anticipated move, it's not a bad idea just to move your stop to scratch. And actually, I waited for this broadcast to show you all that. So that's basically, we'll move our stop to all intents and purposes, scratch. I suppose we could crisp that up a little bit better, but anyway, you get the idea. I don't think that makes, but I'll fix that up after. But what's also interesting too was, and I even put a tweet out about this, is you really saw, and I've been saying for quite a while now that I thought that the actual real driver here was what was Ethereum going to do. This is actually a very textbook pattern. And I even put out a tweet saying, it doesn't get much more textbook than this. I mean, we have beautiful trade location. We had nice indicator confirmation, lots of divs as they were pushing price higher here. Willie stupid. And then the final ingredient, a big fat M to come in here and help you frame risk. And same sort of thing with the Bitcoin. We're very close to that 50% of the move. I think probably to all intents and purposes, just to make sure that we stay on the right side of the trade here, probably move our stop to scratch here as well on this. My hunch here is that through this evening, through tomorrow morning, there will be that final capitulation dump. Do we actually get 2-to-1s to happen here before that? I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. I would say, though, that 2.618 is probably a foregone conclusion. The question ultimately here is, do we dump all the way down to 4.669s? So, those are working. And, we have said for quite a while, at least I have. I don't know whether other people in the community agree with me, but usually June is a weird month. It sort of starts off, of course, Brian, right? Sell in May and walk away and all that kind of talk. Brian's birthday, be careful around that. One thing I am hearing is I'm actually starting to hear some despair in the actual crypto community market, if you will. And frankly speaking, if we look a lot of these altcoins, I can understand. They're looking pretty tough here right now. I am starting to get messages from site people. In fact, I even tweeted one out from a gentleman who said, "Man, I'm a member of a bunch of different communities, and God, it's like the sky's falling in these places." And Brian, I just need to hear some reassurance from you that the end of the world isn't here. And I was like, well, ironically enough, and this is the irony of all of this, is that when we actually do get to the point where, Gucci sweater wearers and all those kind of fun meme people that we joke about, when all of those people start saying that they're losing serious money and that they're giving up and that they're throwing in the towel and they got a tax bill to pay, so they got to just regenerate any kind of capital that they can, just get me out. And of course, the famous saying, I don't care, just get me out. And what I'm never going to buy this crap again, that kind of talk. I'm starting to hear that. And the interesting thing is that this is coming in right on cue. So over the next couple weeks, I wouldn't be in a huge hurry here, folks. But over the next couple weeks, I think we're going to be getting some absolutely incredible opportunities. But keep in mind, we're probably going to hear about blood in the streets over this window here as we come into the end of the month. So, ironically enough, actually, things are just sort of marching along the way that they usually do. As I started off the conversation, I do think that we're heading into some sort of I don't know whether I would call it capitulation, but it almost feels like it's almost like it feels like it's really orchestrated. FOMC, FOMC, FOMC. And seeing the price dump here does not really surprise me. What does, well, yeah, I think that's about the best I can lead off at it. And I thought it was interesting when I looked at the sort of the broader market, and sort of what's pushing stuff around there. The conversation's basically the same. So, we pull up this classic sort of news headlines, trading economics. Right? This is a site that I like to use. And the headline is US stocks fall, Fed-eyed. And as you can see, Dow's off a chunk. It's not a huge number. S&Ps are off a bit. And I would say that Bitcoin's probably just falling into this. It almost looks to me like Asian and European indexes and bourses are getting hit harder than the US. And really, my thesis all along here, and I don't know whether it drives you crazy or not, but this is a perfect "I told you so" kind of moment. My thesis all along here is that the US dollar and sort of the US economy, the US economic engine, is coming back online after being dormant for 15, 20 years, which makes sense because it had to go through its cycle. And now the headlines, ironically enough, are where the hell did I see it? Something anyway, I thought I had a headline here in front of me, but the headlines are basically just the U.S. economic engine is powering the world's growth. Actually, I think it was over here. Darn. Oh well. There was yeah, I think it was out of actually the World Bank. They even said overnight, in a very surprise situation, the US economy is leading the world out of economic malaise. And I think you're going to see more of that. World Bank sees rosier growth outlook. And I think this is all going to be driven. Here we are. This was the headline I was talking about. Surprising US economy is powering better global outlook, World Bank says. So I think, this is going to become sort of the norm over the next 5-10 years. Is Europe, probably South America, because, they're always a funny story unto themselves. China, oh boy, stay the hell away from this place. I would even say China itself, stay the hell away from there. I would say that countries that export a lot of goods into the US market, like Japan, for instance, I think they should do fairly well. And of course, anybody who's sort of allied with the American hegemony kind of system, they should see friendlier times. But people that are at odds with the Americans, it's going to be a bit of a tough sled going forward for them. So that's been my message. It's going to remain my message. I will just simply say though, does look like maybe we're coming into a little bit of a yeah, kind of like maybe a little too far, too fast kind of idea. What's the best page to show you? I think over here. We hit 2.618 here on the US dollar index after a pretty precipitous jump here. You can now start to see as we head into this Fed event, divergences in momentum starting to form, not confirmed yet, but starting to form. You can see we're making higher highs, but MACD histogram is not. Willie is officially stupidly overbought. So this market is overbought. And of course, if we circle back around to our dashboard, and this is where the dashboard really helps a lot, we can see things like the commodities are completely washed out. They're due for a bit of a rally here. And we can see things like the international currencies on the short term, everybody's oversold versus the US dollar. I just showed you that US dollar index. It's just basically gone straight up over the past week or so. I don't know whether we're done here on the US dollars sort of medium term rally window. I don't think that the Fed is anywhere close to lowering interest rates. The only question really here is what's the verbiage out of JP tomorrow? My hunch is he's probably going to be like, yeah, well, things are actually looking pretty good. I don't see any stag and I don't see any inflation, that kind of talk. And as a result, you're probably going to see a little bit of cleaning up of this short-term situation in the currencies markets. And ironically enough, you can actually make the argument, hello, look at crypto. Who could tell me? And this might make a really, really good screenshot, especially seeing what we're seeing out of Bitcoin and Ethereum, how they're all coming off. Shorts seem to be working. We're coming into sort of capitulation event windows with FOMC. My talk there just a minute ago about how the public is all freaking out and, starting to get some serious capitulation by Gucci sweater wearers. And lo and behold, look at how our algorithm is starting to flirt with getting stupidly oversold on both the short and medium term. And this might actually be a really good anecdote for us to watch over the next couple of weeks. Because if this thing flashes stupidly overbought on both camps, you know what that means. And if you don't, maybe you ought to become a TRIer, and you will, and that'll put a smile on your face. Anyway, we'll see what happens. All right. I think that's about it I want to do for the free broadcast today. Keep in mind, everybody, there's not a hell of a lot going on in the broader market. You can see it's relatively sanguine. Nobody's going to take really big bets ahead of the Fed here. And there's actually really almost little to no econs coming out. There was one econ, the Johnson Red Book, which came in still fairly firm. Again, no reason for the Fed to cut rates. And if anything, the only reason why the NASDAQ is actually as firm as it is because Apple Computer has basically wrapped its arms around I think it's the Open AI people, if I'm not mistaken. And they're the big, the talk today is them integrating artificial intelligence into their hardware. So, the great part about it is we've got number one of the best tech analysts I've seen in the world. And I've had the privilege of working with him for the past 5-10 years. So if anybody's going to be able to interpret this, it's going to be Sjord. And then also too, he happens to love Apple. So he'll also have a bit of a personal perspective on this as well. So with that said, I think the best thing for us to do is let's get on over to the after party. I would highly encourage you all to join the site and join our community. It seems to be one of those places that you're not going to be needlessly shilled stupid overpriced products that don't really help you. Our school program teaches you how to build and run a small business of trading, expecting profit. And what I've seen here, especially over the past few days, and very typical, really nothing out of the ordinary here whatsoever, But what I'm seeing here is I'm starting to get a lot of messages from people saying, God, Brian, if I had only found you a few years ago, man, I would have saved a ton of money. So why don't you do yourself a favor? Come and at the very least, just join our for a 30-day free trial. Come and get to know our community a little bit, understand our perspective. And the irony of all of this is, what do you think Beamish is doing in this kind of environment? Is Beamish freaking out and selling down markets? Or is Beamish actually getting in there and buying some of these piece of poo names that have come back down to shark levels and setup levels? So, I'm a consummate contrarian, right? So when everybody else is freaking out, I want to step in there and buy. I don't know whether this thing's going to perform or not, but I said I was going to buy some of this if they did bring it all the way back down to the original bottom. So I'm a man of my word and I bought. Way to go. So, is a glass half empty? Is a glass half full? It's up to you. There really is no wrong way to read that. Opportunity is now here, but obviously, you know exactly how I read that line. I think I showed you guys that yesterday, but anyway. Okay, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Let's get on over and hang out with Sjord for a bit. All the best. Hugs and kisses. Keep that about 20 minutes. I think that's probably a good time frame we should really shoot for on a daily basis for these free videos. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. The only enough price to say to you is bye for now. Munch it for the win.